For decades, we had dreamed of it. A video game that truly captured the essence of the Batman. We had the gadgets, we had the cape, but we never had the feel. The speed, the power, the cunning. Then in 2009, from an unproven studio named Rocksteady, a dark and confined masterpiece emerged from the shadows. This was Batman Arkham Asylum. This game wasn't just a critical hit, it was a seismic event that shook the foundations of the superhero genre. It didn't just meet expectations, it obliterated them, setting a bar for a combat and stealth that is still being chased today. But how did this relatively small team manage to succeed where so many major developers have failed? What made its unique blend of claustrophobic setting, psychological horror, and revolutionary gameplay so instantly iconic? Prepare to grapple into the shadows as we dissect the design, the genius, and the enduring legacy of Batman Arkham Asylum. Rocksteady Studios, founded in 2004, was relatively unknown when they landed the Batman license, but the goal was singular and brilliant: to abandon the typical open-world bloat of the time and instead focus on a hyper-detailed, incredibly immersive environment that would make the player feel like the Batman. Their entire design philosophy boiled down to one question: what would it be like to be the world's greatest detective in his own environment? This philosophy led to groundbreaking innovations. First, the decision to use Arkham Asylum as a single, contained setting. This was crucial as it allowed the developers to pour massive amounts of detail and atmosphere into every corridor and cell block, creating a densely packed world rich with lore and secrets. Second, the casting. Bringing back the voices of the acclaimed animated series Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker instantly lent the game an authenticity in a way that no previous Batman titles could claim. And in my personal opinion, I think that Kevin Conroy is the best, or I guess was, sadly, the best voice for Batman in any form of animation. And of course, Mark Hamill, or Luke Skywalker, or Skips, he's, in my opinion as well, the best Joker in animation that we've ever had. The development team showed an incredible reverence for the resource material, weaving decades of Batman history into the very walls of the asylum. Every collectible, every character bio, and every piece of environmental storytelling served to deepen the immersion, transforming the game from a simple action title into an ultimate interactive tribute to the Dark Knight. The free flow combat system is arguably the most influential gameplay mechanic of the last 15 years. It was an instant game changer, providing a rhythmic, athletic, and uniquely satisfying form of hand-to-hand combat that made you feel utterly unstoppable, yet constantly challenged. The genius lay in its simplicity. It was built around 4 core actions: strike, counter, stun, and evade. By distilling combat down to these intuitive inputs, Rocksteady created a system where the challenge wasn't mashing buttons, but managing the battlefield. The entire system is built around flow and rhythm. Breaking your combo was a visual and sonic punishment, while maintaining it was powerful kinetic reward. It forced the player to keep their head on the swivel, constantly scanning the environment for the next incoming attack, the next vulnerable enemy, or the perfect moment for a gadget takedown. This system was perfectly tuned for the Batman's fantasy. You weren't clumsy, you weren't fighting a machine. The system was so successful that it became the foundation for combat in dozens of subsequent games, from Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor to Marvel's Spider-Man. It has set a new expectation. If your melee combat system wasn't as satisfying as Arkham Asylum, it was immediately criticized. I guess the only complaint about the free flow system is that it kind of feels, floaty or unrealistic, if that's something that you're into in video games, to realism. When you're playing the game, when you're fighting, Batman's like leaping and like just fucking like essentially fast traveling, teleporting, if you will, from one enemy to another. Now, I personally don't think that's a complaint of mine, at least for me. I understand why people say it's a complaint, but that is one of them. But I don't think it's a major issue, if I'm being quite honest. If combat made you feel powerful, the Predator stealth sections made you feel terrifying. These sections were designed to showcase Batman's cunning, turning the vast vertical environments into his hunting ground. The use of gargoyles as perches for observation and silent takedowns became an iconic visual, perfectly capturing the gothic terror of the character. Now, to be fair, I think the silent takedowns and the gargoyle perching was a bit unrefined in the first game. When I replayed it, it felt I wouldn't say it felt sluggish. It felt like something was missing compared to Arkham Knight, Arkham City, and I guess Arkham Origins as well, even though technically Arkham Origins is not Rocksteady. But anyway, and also, yeah, it is the first game. They're still experimenting. They're still, learning how to actually make the fucking game. But I will say that once you played the sequels, you'll see that the first one was still cooking. The entire environment served as a tool. Every vent, every pressure plate, every chandelier could be exploited. This was enhanced by the game's arsenal of gadgets, the explosive gel for setting traps, the batarangs for stunning distant targets, and the grapple hook for unmatched vertical mobility, all combined to create a tactical sandbox that rewarded clever, patient play. The goal wasn't to kill, it was to terrify, isolate, and neutralize one by one. Also because, Batman doesn't kill, he's not a murderer. But the most controversial, yet essential element was detective mode. While often criticized for being overused, this visual filter was the key to making the player feel like the world's greatest detective. It instantly highlighted clues, enemy locations, weapon status, and structural vulnerabilities. It served as a central tactical tool, allowing you to plan your attacks and maintain the predatory advantage. Without it, the complexity of the stealth and the integration of the Riddler's challenge wouldn't have been possible. Now, I get the controversy and how it's overused, and I play these games for so long, play them many hours, and yes, the detective mode is, a bit overused, but I think that's the whole point, because you are Batman, you're playing as Batman, and Batman would use all his tools at his disposal. So you can argue like his batarangs, or I don't know, literally anything might be overused, like in the canon, not essentially in the game. So yeah, it is in terms of gameplay, yeah, it is a bit overused, and it's kind of like an easy mode, because you can see literally everything. It's extra vision, it's wall hacks. You can see enemies behind walls, you can see enemies anywhere. But I think it's still cool. I think it's still like part of who Batman is, and that's what he'd use in real life, or in the canon. The narrative is brilliant in its simplicity. The Joker allows himself to be captured only to spring his elaborate trap, turning the entire asylum into his playground. This inversion of control is perfect for the Batman mythos. The confined setting allows the story to focus entirely on the core conflict, amplified by Hamill's career-defining performance. Arkham Asylum obviously isn't as big as Arkham City or even Arkham Knight, but I think the game being set within Arkham Asylum itself, I think it's just fucking brilliant. Like, you're in the heart of where all these fucking criminals and psychos, I guess, are put, and it's basically one versus everyone. It's just you, Batman, against essentially all of Gotham, or majority of Gotham that got arrested at this point. And yeah, the story is simple. Joker's arrested, turns out to be a trap, easy control, everything's chaos, Batman's already there, he needs to fix it. It's a simple plot, it's not fucking groundbreaking, it's not fucking, a Nolan fucking film, ironically. But, it's still a good story that makes sense within the Batman universe. And then, as I said before, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, his portrayal of the Joker is honestly one of the best, if not the best, Jokers. Not live action, obviously, but like animation or just voiceover wise, I think Mark Hamill is just the best Joker in terms of voicing him. The highlight of the game's narrative integration is undoubtedly the Scarecrow sequence. These are not traditional boss fights, they are pure, uncut psychological horror, designed to represent the effects of his fear toxin. These segments break the reality of the game, forcing the player through surreal, distorted platforming segments while the giant, monstrous scarecrow hunts you down. These moments were not only shocking and visually intensive, but they showcase Rocksteady's courage in embracing the psychological depth of the Batman universe, providing a crucial atmospheric shift from the action. Now, the Scarecrow sequence, they were very simple. You just ran around, in a 2D space, and, hiding behind walls and avoiding Scarecrow's gaze. If he sees you, he kills you, obviously. But the thing is, as simple, the thing is, right, I guess the whole thing about this game is that it's very simple. It's a very simple game, but it takes that simplicity and just makes it so good. Like, I don't know how to say it. Again, so go back to Scarecrow. It's a very simple segment where he's just, he's just following you with a searchlight, or his eyes, rather. And if he sees you, you're caught. And your job is to hide behind corners, hide behind walls, so he doesn't see you. And once you reach the top of the level, I guess, you kill him or you stun him with like a Batman stick. It's so simple, but it's so good because it really shows you, like Batman's fears. Like, it shows you what fucking Scarecrow can do to a person with his fear toxin. Like, I don't know. It's just good. It's really good what they did with that, in my opinion. The utilization of the supporting rogues gallery is also masterful. Killer Croc's session is pure tense survival horror. Zaz is an unexpected jump scare and puzzle. And the final confrontation with Poison Ivy is a huge cinematic spectacle. Each villain is perfectly integrated into the Asylum structure, ensuring that the game never feels repetitive. Here's the thing that, again, I said this before, that really makes the game just amazing for a Batman game. It's how they use all the established lore, all the established stories and characters, and just implemented them into the game so well. There are bios of characters unknown to unless you read the comics. There are clues and just things that tie all the villains to the previous lore of the games, and I don't know. I think it's bringing the comic books to life. Giving some of the characters, not the unknowns or the not well-known characters, because not everyone reads comics, right? Some people are just surface level comic books fans and just either watch the movies, watch animated shows or whatever, but don't go into the comics themselves. And it's fine. Not everyone is into certain things. Obviously, I'm not shitting on those people, but this game really helped those people, the people that don't read all the fucking comics, every single fucking issue, to really learn and understand all of the lore and all of the heroes and villains that are part of the Batman universe. And I think that's really fucking cool. Because when I played the games, when I first played them, way back when, I wasn't really into comics. Like, I liked comic book movies, I liked comic book TV shows, but I never actually read comics. It wasn't until I got older, I developed more hobbies. And that's when I started reading more comic books, especially Batman. Batman's one of my favorite fucking heroes. So I think it's really cool how this game really introduces people who are not comic book readers to the Batman lore, which I think is one of the best lores there is. Batman Arkham Asylum is not just a great Batman game. It's a milestone in action game design. Its strengths were numerous and profound. The combat, revolutionary, fluid, and unmatched in satisfaction. The atmosphere, a masterclass in environment design and claustrophobic horror. The immersion, Conroy and Hamill elevated the story behind standard video game fare. Technical polish. For a 2009 title on the Unreal Engine 3, the game ran remarkably well with great visuals and seamless transitions. But it does come with a caveat. This game is almost fucking 20 years old, which is fucking insane. In 4 years, this game's gonna be 20 years old, right? God damn it. It does kind of look like shit. Not gonna lie. When the game, because there are some, I guess, not cutscenes, but dialogue sequences when Batman's talking to a prison guard or whatever, and the camera will focus on Batman and on the person, the NPC he's talking to, like a TV show. Like a TV show cuts to a person doing monologuing. Yeah, that didn't really age well, in my opinion. It doesn't look that great. Almost 20 years later, the overall gaming experience, the overall gameplay, the environment, the setting, it still looks pretty good today. It's Unreal Engine, right? Unreal Engine's kind of hard to, if you use realistic graphics. Unreal Engine, it doesn't age that bad, but there are some aspects of that engine during that time that, yeah, they didn't age that well. So the game looks great for its age, right? But there are just some things that you're like, that kind of looks like ass. One of the things, another thing that looks like ass is the mouth animation when people are speaking. That looks hella robotic, like fucking FNAF type shit, you know? If there is one common criticism, it often falls on the final boss encounter, a simple, repetitive brute force fight against Titan-enhanced Joker, which felt anticlimactic after the psychological brilliance of the spherical segments. But this is a smug complaint against a game that otherwise achieves same perfection. And yeah, the final boss fight is kind of ass. Joker does look cool, you know, it's a Titan Joker. Oh, basically so the whole point of Joker taking over the asylum is he wanted to make his own version of the Bane Venom. So he took he fused Titan, or it's called Titan, but he fused like the Bane Venom with like some other shit, I think like from Poison Ivy's plants, if I remember correctly. And they made like a super fucked up version of the Bane Venom. So it was worse than Bane's, you know, fucking steroid. And at the end of the game, Joker he obviously injects himself with it after he perfects it, and there aren't any more side effects, or it kills you, and he becomes this fucking monster, right? Which leads perfectly into the second game. Spoilers, that's why in the second game, he's like dying because of the fucking Titan virus. Anyway, yeah, the final boss fight of the game is you quote unquote fighting Titan Joker, but in reality, it's really ass. It's like fucking PlayStation 1 level of fucking boss fights. Like, it's so easy. You basically have to fight a bunch of fucking goons, and then after a while, Joker will turn his back, and you have to pull him down with your grapple hook, and that's pretty much it. You do it like your standard 3 times, and the game ends. So yeah, the boss fight is really ass, not gonna lie. Arkham Asylum proved that a superhero game could have depth, artistic merit, and groundbreaking gameplay. It launched a successful trilogy, set the gold standard for every superhero game that followed, and most importantly, delivered the decades-long promise of making the player truly feel like the Dark Knight. It's a game that remains essential, powerful, and utterly timeless. Technically, it's a quadrilogy? I don't know the actual fucking name, but there are 4 games, right? It's Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and then Arkham Knight. But the reason Origins doesn't get included is because it wasn't developed by Rocksteady. I think it was made by Montreal Studios, WB Montreal. I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly. But because that's a prequel game to the first one, so it's like a more younger, more brutal, more inexperienced Batman. Which again, it's a cool idea. The Batman, the fucking 2020 version, 2022 movie, is essentially a young Batman. So it's not included because it's not as good. It's not a bad game. It's a good game, but it's not as good as the ones made by Rocksteady. That's why it doesn't really get included, and also because again, it's not developed by Rocksteady. Overall, the Batman Arkham games are one of my favorite franchises in the world. I wouldn't say like it's the number one. It's the number one, franchise I love, but the Arkham games are just so fucking good. If you haven't played them, even if you're not a fan of Batman, they're just really good. The storytelling, the environmental storytelling, the lore, everything is just so good, and it just feels so natural. It's just like it's teaching you who Batman is, who these characters are, what his life is, And again, the gameplay is it's almost flawless. It's just so good. You can get the games on your PC for like hella cheap, either on GOG, Epic, Steam. They go on sale all the time. So if you haven't played them, do yourself a favor and fucking play them. Hopefully I'll make a video on Arkham City, Origins, and Knight, but I'll have to replay them first before I make a video on that so I can get footage. Also, you know, I haven't uploaded like almost a month. I had to beat this game. I have other shit to do. Also, I got sick, so I couldn't really talk. You know, I mean, I can't talk now, but it was worse. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, bye.